Now, before we get into today's video, I want you all to click the link below and join my email list right now. There's a whole lot of great content that I want to send to you, but YouTube, well, YouTube doesn't let me show you. Must be systemic racism. They've deleted a bunch of our videos, but that will not stop me from telling you the truth. So join my email list right now. The link is in the description. Oh man, big show today. Remember, hit the like button, smash subscribe, and make sure you watch our shows because we put excerpts up all the time on epochtv.com. And make sure that you call. You got a problem, a complaint, something I might be able to help solve? 888-971-7243, 888-971-7243. Now, big story yesterday. Trump called it a raid. The FBI is calling it executing a search warrant on Mar-a-Lago. Apparently, Trump did not know the search warrant was going to be executed, and apparently, Biden administration was unaware of it as well. The press secretary for Joe Biden says, "No, the FBI is independent. We had no idea that Mar-a-Lago was going to be served." Now, the speculation is that Donald Trump failed to turn over some 15 boxes of official documents, and they were in negotiation. They, meaning the FBI and Donald Trump, turn over these documents, but all of a sudden they fell through. Documents had been turned over, and it appeared that everything was going fine in terms of negotiating when and where the documents would be turned over. But all of a sudden, the FBI executes a search warrant, and suddenly a bunch of agents show up at Mar-a-Lago. Now, just a few hours ago, I was at LAX. I was attending CPAC, and then I flew to Washington, D.C., where I did a 2-hour interview on C-SPAN. And the following day, I did a 2-hour interview on a podcast called Timcast, hosted by a guy named Tim Pool. So I flew back to LAX this morning, and as I'm waiting for my luggage, I see a big guy, buff-looking guy. He looks at me, and he smiles. I'm thinking he's a fan. And so I went over to him, we started chatting, and he clearly wasn't a fan. And he told me he worked for the government. He's in some area of national security. I'm going to be kind of vague here because I don't want this guy to get into trouble for all the things he told me. But he said, "How do you feel about what happened last night?" And I knew what he was referring to. And I said, "I think it's outrageous." I said, serving a warrant like this on a former president, I've never heard of anything like it. And he said, well, nobody's above the law. He failed to turn over 15 documents that he should have turned over a long time ago. I said, these things are worked out. You negotiate this. You don't serve a search warrant on a former president. And he said, nobody is above the law. I said, really? Nobody's above the law. I said, are you familiar with Sandy Berger? He said, who? I said, Sandy Berger, the former national security advisor for Bill Clinton. He's in the National Archives stealing documents, possibly trashing documents because there was an investigation about what Bill Clinton knew or didn't know about the events leading up to 9/11. 9/11 happened shortly after Bill Clinton leaves office, and the issue was whether or not Bill Clinton was aware of things that he could have done something about and took no action. So Sandy Berger, to prepare for the testimony, goes to the National Archives to review documents. He was, again, Bill Clinton's national security advisor. And he gets caught stealing documents out of the National Archive. Watch this.
It was reported on April 2nd that Sandy Berger, a Clinton White House national security advisor, finally pleaded guilty to intentionally removing and destroying classified documents from the National Archives.
Removing and destroying classified documents from the National Archives. And I mentioned this to the gentleman, and he had no idea who Sandy Berger was. Got a slap on the wrist, Sandy Berger did.
He was accused last October, but claimed he inadvertently walked off with the documents. Part of the plea deal is that his security clearance has been suspended for 3 years. This reads like a joke, but these are the facts. He admits stealing classified documents and will get another opportunity in 3 years. In the 1960s, I was an active duty officer in the U.S. Army, handling classified documents almost daily for 2 years. I can assure you that any slip-up or failure to follow procedures in handling classified documents would result in far more than a slap on the wrist. Deliberately stealing a classified document would certainly have resulted in a court-martial and imprisonment. If one of our GIs pulled something like this today.
So he got a slap on the wrist, his security clearance was pulled for 2 or 3 years, and then he got it back. That's it. Stealing and destroying documents to the National Archives in anticipation of his testimony under oath before the committee investigating what happened in the lead up to 9/11. I mentioned this to the gentleman. He didn't even know who Sandy Berger was. He said, oh, well, that's different. In his case, I said, you just now said you don't even know who he is. And now you're telling me it's different? And I mentioned Eric Holder in Fast and Furious. He said, what about it? I said, he's the acting AG at the time, incumbent AG, who's ever been found in criminal contempt of Congress. He refused to turn over documents about Fast and Furious. That's the program where the government allowed guns to get down to Mexico because they were apparently going to follow them and find out how easy it is to get guns. I'm still not quite sure exactly what the whole point was. I think it was to create an atmosphere for more gun control. In any case, Eric Holder was subpoenaed by Congress to turn over documents pertaining to Fast and Furious. He failed to do so. I mentioned this to the gentleman. Watch this.
And a contempt report is ordered.
The contempt vote against Holder went forward despite a last-minute attempt by the White House to prevent it by invoking executive privilege to shield the Justice Department documents at the heart of this dispute. But Darrell Issa, the chair of the Government Oversight Committee, said the time for such maneuvers had passed.
The frustration of this committee in not getting documents for a year and a half must be satisfied today.
Issa wants internal Department of Justice emails to help him determine whether the department was trying to cover up Fast and Furious when it initially denied the operation's existence in February 2011. Attorney General Holder has said it was an honest mistake and that the department was misled by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms.
Honest mistake, just like Sandy Berger inadvertently stuffed his pants full of documents. And ultimately, Congress filed a lawsuit against Eric Holder to turn over the documents, and an Obama-appointed judge did not do anything about it. She ultimately said, well, you guys work it out. You guys just work it out. And ultimately, they worked it out, but it was at least two and a half years or so before the documents were turned over. Now, don't give me, and I mentioned this to the gentleman, and I said, you're telling me that for about a year, they've been trying to get these documents from Donald Trump? Well, it's been over 2 years before they got the documents from Eric Holder, and they had to take them to court. I said, double standard. And I said, what about Lois Lerner, the IRS official who was denying the tax-exempt status of charities that were conservative charities? And nothing happened to her. Right now, she's still living in her mansion, still enjoying her suburban pension. Watch this.
The Justice Department says it will not reconsider prosecuting former IRS official Lois Lerner. Now, Lerner and the tax agency were accused of targeting conservative groups. Joining us now is Becky Gerritsen, president of the Wetumpka, Alabama Tea Party. And Becky, you once testified in front of Congress about this. You were targeted. Yes. And for those who may not remember your story, just tell me how that all came about.
Now, she is with a Tea Party organization. And the ones that had names like Tea Party were all flagged by Lois Lerner and the other officials she worked with to make sure that the people that were applying for tax-exempt status didn't get it. And nothing happened to Lois Lerner.
We applied for a 501c4 tax status in 2010, and we were refused that status. We were held off for over 2 years. And the IRS sent us a questionnaire of 80 questions outside the scope of what they're allowed to ask, wanting to know our donors' names, our volunteers' names, times and places of where we're speaking, resumes of our speakers, copies of every speech ever given. What? These are things that we have the freedom of speech to address our government if we want to. We're allowed to talk about these things.
So the people that were applying for tax-exempt status who were conservatives were asked a series of questions that others are not asked in order to delay their ability to raise money tax-free.
Testified to Congress outlining all of this,
yes,
let's call it what it is, harassment.
Absolutely. Intimidation.
And what kind of reaction did you get? I mean, obviously nothing has happened.
Well, I am stunned. The Department of Justice has decided not to pursue any criminal investigation towards Lois Lerner. And the only thing I can ask myself is, have they seen the evidence that I've seen?
Right.
Double standard. And the gentleman, well, Donald Trump is not above the law. Donald Trump has been doing this from the beginning of his term. That's what he said. I said, so Donald Trump's a bad guy. So the rules that apply to other people don't apply to him. Other people skate. Lois Lerner has skated. Eric Holder has skated. Sandy Berger has skated. And you can't figure out some sort of way of negotiating a deal with Donald Trump short of raiding Mar-a-Lago?
Right.
I have bins at home full of papers and copies of emails showing the IRS colluding with the Department of Justice, and maybe that's why we're not hearing anything, and the Federal Election Commission, along with Democratic senators and congressmen, to target Tea Party groups and conservative grassroots groups.
I mean, it doesn't take a genius to work out what was going on here. It was very obvious.
Very obvious. I said, and this brings us to Hillary. I said to the guy, and again, he's in national security, he handles documents. I said, Hillary clearly violated the Espionage Act. She had an unsecured server in her basement on which she sent and received not only classified information, but information that was stamped as classified, and denied it. And he said, well, she had it in her basement because a lot of people send and get information that's leaked. And so I said, it was against the law for her to have it. And don't you remember that long presentation I said by James Comey, where he ultimately concluded that she lacked the intent? And he goes, well, you're proving my point. She lacked the intent. Donald Trump intended not to turn over these documents. I said, you didn't let me finish my point. The Espionage Act does not require intent. There was a sailor, his name was Ken Saucier, I believe that's how you pronounce it, who took a picture of his top secret submarine and showed it to a girlfriend or something. He had no intent to undermine national security. He went to jail for violating the Espionage Act, I told him. Let's go down memory lane with Hillary, shall we?
Although we did not find clear evidence that Secretary Clinton or her colleagues intended to violate laws governing the handling of classified information.
Intent is not a requirement. Comey added it. That's like saying you got drunk and you killed somebody. I didn't intend to kill him. We know you didn't intend to kill him. We assume criminal intent because you got drunk. When you are handling top secret documents, you can't just leave the football somewhere and go, oh, I didn't mean to leave it. You're held to a zero tolerance standard. Intent is not a requirement. Comey added it.
There is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information. For example, 7 email chains concern matters that were classified at the top secret special access program at the time they were sent and received.
Hillary denied that she sent or received any information that was classified or that was stamped classified. Comey just now said she lied when she said that.
Those chains involve Secretary Clinton both sending emails about those matters and receiving emails about those same matters.
And the point here, again, is the double standards I was trying to explain to the gentleman. No one's above the law. But Hillary, she clearly violated the Espionage Act. She had a server in her basement on which she sent and received information that was both stamped classified and non-stamped classified. And by the way, something does not have to be stamped classified for it to be classified. And Comey just said she did.
There is evidence to support a conclusion that any reasonable person in Secretary Clinton's position or in the position of those with whom she was corresponding about those matters should have known that an unclassified system was no place for that conversation.
Hello? Is this thing on?
We did not find direct evidence that Secretary Clinton's personal email domain, in its various configurations since 2009, was hacked successfully.
We have not found any evidence that it was hacked successfully. What about people to whom she sent stuff? Were they hacked? And the FBI said, we don't know. So here she is, private server in her basement on which she sent and received classified information. We don't have any evidence that it was hacked. We don't have any evidence that it wasn't hacked. We don't know. There could have been sources, methods, lies at risk because of the classified information that might or might not have been hacked.
But given the nature of the system and of the actors potentially involved, we assess we would be unlikely to see such direct evidence.
So we're not going to find such direct evidence. We don't know. Given the way the system is set up, we will never know whether or not hackers had access to classified information. That's why what she did is so serious.
We do assess that hostile actors gained access to the private commercial email accounts.
Uh-oh, hostile actors gain access to the private commercial email accounts
of people with whom Secretary Clinton was in regular contact.
Okay, so we don't know whether or not Clinton's server was hacked, but we do know that people to whom she sent it very likely were hacked.
From her personal account. We also assess that Secretary Clinton's use of a personal email domain was both known by a large number of people and readily apparent. She also used her personal email extensively while outside the United States, including sending and receiving work-related emails in the territory of sophisticated adversaries.
You're not supposed to do that.
Given that combination of factors, we assess it is possible that hostile actors gained access to Secretary Clinton's personal email account.
And yet, she skated, as I was explaining to the gentleman.
Looking back at our investigations into the mishandling or removal of classified information, we cannot find a case that would support bringing criminal charges on these facts.
Here it goes. Did all these things wrong, had a server in her basement on which she sent and received classified information. We don't know whether or not she was directly hacked, but the people to whom she sent it very likely was hacked. She lacked intent. We don't know of any case where this has ever happened, so she skates.
All the cases prosecuted involved some combination of clearly intentional.
One more time, intent, not a requirement of the provision that she violated.
Willful mishandling of classified information.
All right. So, double standard. That's why people are so angry. Hope you enjoyed that video. The full show is available to watch right now on Epoch TV. Just click the link in the description below to learn more, because we've got a country to save.